Topics with a variety of amazing guests. We visit the past. We ponder our future as we exist in the here and now. At This Moment with Angela Black, Thursday evenings, Studio B on Revolution Radio.
Did you ever feel that things were not quite right? That everything was just ever so slightly askew?
Do you have, to paraphrase Morpheus, a splinter in your mind?
If you're interested in hearing the latest information about UFOs, the paranormal,
ancient cultures and structures,
monatomic elements,
longevity,
fantastic discoveries in science,
download it to your brain,
then tune into us. Hi, I'm Dave.
And I'm Mackie.
And we are Shiny Side Out, Sundays 2 to 4 a.m. Eastern. See you then.
Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. You don't need to expect us. We're already here. The opinions expressed on this radio station, its programs, and its website by the hosts, guests, and call-in listeners or chatters are solely the opinions of the original source who expressed them. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Revolution Radio and freedomslips.com, its staff, or affiliates. You're listening to Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, 100% listener-supported radio, and now we return you to your host.
Welcome to I Am Nature. Brian Porter here, your host, with Angela Black and my guest, Alberto Ruz. How is everyone?
I'm okay.
Doing well, thank you. Sorry about the confusion earlier, Alberto. I was on air, could not answer your call.
No problem.
Anyway, welcome to the show. You're in great hands with Brian.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thanks, Angela. Yeah, Angela's just a superhero woman here. She's, pulling off shows left, right, and center. I mean, I just can't believe it. Thanks so much, Angela, for hanging around and producing my show.
My pleasure, Brian.
So, Alberto, we finally got you hooked in. I have to teach you how to hang up.
No, it's okay. We're on Mayan time here in Mexico.
I know you're almost in Angela's time zone. She's 3 hours behind me. I'm over here at 6 o'clock here.
Okay.
So, hey, so Alberto, your name came up in one of my favorite interviews that I've had on my show with Michael Baker. I understand he's a good friend of yours.
It is. He is. We have met in around the calendars from the Mayan people, and back a few years ago, because I was also working a lot with Mayan culture. My father was an archaeologist, and he was working mostly in the Mayan area. And he spent most of his life, and myself when I was a kid, in Yucatan. And he did a major archaeological discovery in Latin America, which is the discovery of the tomb of Pacal in Palenque. So that's why I became acquainted with first with archaeologists, and then with the people that since then have been studying the Mayans from a different perspective, especially Jose Argüelles. And that's the way Don Alejandro Cirillo from Guatemala, Elders Humbatzman, and that's how I got in contact with Michael, that they invited us to go to the Glastonbury Mayan circles over there. So I went a couple of times to Glastonbury to participate in those events. So yeah, he's one of my elder brothers, and I respect him, admire him, and love him very much.
Well, I mean, like you, he started his own eco-village. I mean, that, to me, this is an incredible accomplishment. It's like writing a symphony if you're a musician. It's like inventing a serum or a vaccine if you're a biologist. I mean, this to me is an incredible accomplishment, and I congratulate you on that.
Thank you very much, Brian.
Yes, because we were just discussing before we started the notion of it solves all the political and economic problems of the planet. When you put the we before the me, we've kind of got it backwards right now. We put the me before the we. But when you put the we, the collective needs of the community first, and then out of that grows the me, right? Yeah. And people discover themselves. It actually enhances the me to put the we first. Do you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I know that now that you also come from a political background, and myself I also come from a political background. I was student at the University of Mexico in the 60s, 60, 67, 65, 68. And well, I was basically interested in changing the world. But that there was a certain moment where I started to see that in order to change the world, you first had to change specific things in yourself. And that's how I came into the movement in 68 in Berkeley and the Bay Area with the commune movement, who was at that time, well, growing everywhere. And I decided that from all the political options that I knew, the one of creating a space or creating a community or creating a laboratory of utopia, like we call them, where we could experiment the society where we wanted to live, was more interesting than trying to get to power or to create a political party or to win elections or whatever of that. So since then, so I'm talking now more than 68 until now, I have always lived in a community. Sometimes it has been a nomadic community, and sometimes it's been like a settlement, like we are now here in Mexico. I'm now in the heart of the mountains of Mexico in a place called Huehuecoyot, which is an eco village, and we have been here now for 33 years.
So when you said you were part of a nomadic community, is that like a gypsy kind of community?
Exactly, yeah. In fact, back in the 60s, when where I took the personal decision to create a community, I decided that before creating a community, I needed to visit, to live in many different communities around the world where I could learn a little from here, a little from there. So because since then I didn't want to do that alone, and because since then I thought it was important to create a seed group, I started traveling with a group. And we decided to become a gypsy theater community. And we traveled for maybe 7 or 8 years in Europe and the States, in Middle East, in North of Africa, in Asia, in India, Malaysia, and different places, visiting and living in all kind of different alternative and traditional communities. And from that experience, our own tribe was born, because basically we started to have children, and we grew up as a group, as a community, as a tribe. And after traveling for all those different 7, 8, 9 years, we finally decided that we were ready to settle down, to found a place, and to stay and to create our village. And this is what we have now.
Wow, what a beautiful story. So you started out as a theater group.
Yeah.
And you basically supported yourself by running around all over Central and South America. Did you go overseas at all?
No. At that time, it was mostly the United States, Europe, Middle East.
Oh, okay. You did go overseas.
And Asia, yeah, all over there. We travel in all kind of buses, horse wagons, boats. Okay, yeah, I cannot tell you.
Did you study the arts, the drama in university?
No, I studied economics and political sciences, but I also started doing theater and also filmmaking. Also, at the time I was a student in the university, so that's why basically I was more oriented to the experiences of theater and drama, because I was more in contact with the people and with the communities, and that's where having a theater group, we could arrive any place, being invited any place, and become part of the communities, because we were bringing that, and then we were learning from the different legends, culture, music, drama from the different places where we were stopped.
Wow. What a great way to start an eco community. Start a theater group first. Now, this is my first encounter with someone who's done this kind of amazing sort of creative base for an eco community. And then after you traveled around, you probably start to get an idea where you'd like to settle down. Is that sort of how it came together?
Yeah, well, basically, as I said, we basically started to learn the different kind of communities that existed in the world. We went to ashrams in India. We went to kibbutzes in Israel. We went to alternative communities all over Europe and the States. We went to live with Bedouins and Berbers and Tuaregs, people from the desert, and Kurd people in different traditional villages. And then in India, we lived with many different communities also. And from all of that, we came to the decision that we wanted to make our own eco-village in Mexico, back in Mexico. When I left, I left with a group of Mexicans, but in the way, we started to get people from Denmark, from Sweden, from the States. Our children were born, one in Canary Islands, one in Sweden, one in the States, one in Greece.
Wow.
So, by the time we got back to the United States, we were already 20 adults and 12 children, and we had a big theater community, which was called the Illuminated Elephant. And that's how we became known in all the alternative counterculture movement in the States back in the late 70s and early 80s. And back in 81, we decided to travel to Mexico to make a pilgrimage, visiting to all the indigenous communities from all the way from North America to Chiapas, to the Mayan, Lacandones people. And after that journey, we said that this is the time. Our children were already 6, 7, 8 years old. They have always lived in buses when camping in tents and teepees. We decided that we needed a place. And that's how we came to decide that in Mexico was going to be a good place to do it. And we spent about 6 months looking for the place which had the conditions we needed. And that's how we found this incredible place in the mountains of Tepoztlán in the state of Morelos, and where we have been now for the last 33 years.
Is it a small place? Because I tried to find your time zone in all these time zone calculators. I could not find this town that you live in.
Yeah, the nearest village is called Tepoztlán. And Tepoztlán is very well known in Mexico and all over, also in the rest of the world, because it's called like the Magic Valley of Tepoztlán. That's the state of Morelos. And the state of Morelos is just an hour and a half from Mexico City. So we're in the center of Mexico as a country, and we're a little south of Mexico City. And this is a place that is a national park. The Teposteco is a national park. So our community, our village is bordered to the national park. So we have basically a national park as our garden. A gigantic, beautiful, incredible national park of Teposteco, which forms part of the backyard of our community.
Wow. So this is protected area then?
This is protected area, yeah. And we are just in the limit of we are in protected area, but basically we are just on the border of this protected area, and we are surrounded in 3 sides by the national park.
Wow. Are there any Mayan ruins nearby?
Any?
Mayan ruins, yeah. Are there any Mayan ruins nearby?
No, we have Nahuatl, which is the culture that grew up here in the center of Mexico, is related to the Aztecas and to the Toltecas who lived in the center of the country. So we have Nahuatl communities. When we arrived here 33 years ago, our closest village nearby, people were speaking Nahuatl, but in 33 years now it's changed totally. Now the second generation didn't speak too much, and the young ones, they lost it completely now.
They just speak Spanish?
They all speak Spanish now. And there is temples. We have temples around, yeah. In the top of the mountain of Tepoztlán, right in the top of the mountain of Tepoztlán, there's a ceremonial center there with a beautiful pyramid overlooking the whole valley, El Valle Sagrado, the sacred valley of Tepoztlán. Yeah. You have to come, and both of you.
I think Angela had to just check out for a minute. She's been on air for 2 hours straight.
Oh, I'm here. Thank you very much. Yeah, it sounds wonderful. I can't wait. And I've been telling my son about doing some traveling into different eco communities, and he's very interested. So, and he is actually half Mayan. So,
yeah, you probably accept woofers, eh, Alberto?
Excuse me?
Do you have a woofer program down there?
No, we don't have woofer program now. The community has changed from the time we started back in the 80s, where we were in our 30s, our kids were babies and not even teenagers. Now most of our teenagers grew up. Most of our grown-ups have married, have families, and they did the same thing we did. They went around the world, and now they are creating different projects in different places of the world, in Uruguay, in Italy, in the States, and here also in Mexico. My elder son is creating his own eco-village 1 mile away from here, from our community. And so Yeah, and we have become now the elders. Basically, most of us who arrived here, like I said, 33 years ago, we are now in our 60s or late 60s. So the community basically has everything that we wanted to have. You know, we have a communal center, we have the orchard, we have the garden, we have the water. We don't depend of the water from the municipality. We harvest our own water. Our houses are basically done. The community center where we have groups and we have hosts and where we hold our reunions, our meetings, our festivals. Basically, the community has become a very stable community right now, you know. So it's not so much exciting for the young people. Our young people are now going to the community or eco-village of my son because that's where the drums and the party and the activity and the work and the permaculture is happening. So, yeah, that's the situation right now.
So you're giving birth to new communities.
Yeah, we have at least twice a year groups of 20, 25 people from Mexico, from all over, who come from a design course of eco-village design or a permaculture design. And yeah, we're recognized by the EDA, the Educational Design Courses of GEN, or Global Eco-Village Network. And now my son has become teacher of permaculture also. And the university Cuernavaca is the nearest city from here. They have a university who has created the first bachelor in permaculture. And my son has now become teacher from that course. And my grandson is now student from permaculture over there too.
Wow, you have grandchildren too.
Oh, I have a 19 years old grandson who is a musician and a permaculturist too.
Wow, you must be at least 70 years old.
This year I'm going to be 70, yeah.
Wow, that was a good guess. But wow, that's quite something.
Yeah.
So let's get back to that. The beginning though of your. What's the name again of your eco village?
Huehuecoyotl. It's a Nahuatl name. Huehuecoyotl means the place of old coyotes, and Huehuecoyotl also forms part of one of the months of the calendar, of the Nahuatl calendar, and it represents the god of music, art, and festivals and transgressions, and that I think it represents very much what we were here when we started. You know, we were a group of theater people, a group of artists, a group of anarchists, a group of activists. You know, who were already working in many different social issues. And when we started this community, well, it became like a epicenter for many actions and many activities and many networks who are now what is the green movement in this country, basically very much started here in our community.
Wow. Well, that's impressive. So, and how did you negotiate to get the land that you're on? Was it a gift, or did you have to buy it, or how did that work?
The village that is nearby from here is communal land. So in order to get to establish ourselves in this place, we have to become members of the community. For that, we have to spend 5 years living in the land, paying somebody who was like owner, even if it's not personal ownership, it's like possession. So after 5 years, we got possession of the place, and now we became members of the local community. So since then, now we are part of that community. When they have the festivals, we have to participate with money, with art, with something, receiving people. And when they have their different activities that they decide they need from us, we go and help them. And we invite them to come to our festivals, to our workshops. And so we have an exchange with the local community as well. And but this whole area is communal land. You know, it's part of the things that came out from the Nahuatl times. You know, from the times that this place was not still divided by private property. Now it's changing. It's changing very much because the Valley of Tepoztlan is not too far from Mexico City, and there is many people who are want to have their land in this area because it's very beautiful, and because it's near from the city. And now the town of Tepoztlan has become a very important touristic, ecotouristic, and spiritual touristic center for thousands of people who come every year. No. So we are also part of that community. And, well, we continue being part also of the large national network of activists, of green organizations, and of movements that are working for social and spiritual change in this country as well.
So we're not used to this type of land ownership here. We
No, you don't.
so I think it sounds similar to what's going on in Costa Rica, where people there's different types of land ownership in Central America. In Mexico, it isn't all privately owned. So
It might be the same. It might be the same because I think it comes from the pre-Hispanic times, you know. So I think it's certain parts like in Guatemala and El Salvador, in the places where you have a large indigenous community still, you probably have, and Costa Rica doesn't have too much indigenous communities, but still they have it, and probably some of the forms of ownership also are come from that time. And Costa Rica especially have a lot of national parks. I mean, I think it's the country in Central America who has a more the protection of the environment policies than the rest of the other countries of Central America.
Yeah, I mean, Costa Rica is quite advanced in the enviro movement. Mumta Ita, who is someone you also know, because both in the Rights of Nature movement, said something amazing. She said that Costa Rica has recognized a coral reef as being a being worthy of protection. That's beautiful. I mean, that God, we need a lot more of that thinking in government.
Absolutely. That's what we're trying to do now, is to try to get those visions, those ideas, and those proposals to become legal, to become part of the legislation, to be part of the constitution of the different countries of the world. Yeah.
The rights of nature. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or earth rights, as Kosha educated me on. People also call it earth rights.
Yeah, and in South America and here in Mexico, we talk about derechos de la madre tierra, the rights of Mother Earth.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Because it's like a step further, you know. Nature still feels like abstract, but Mother Nature or Mother Earth sounds like what it is, you know. And I mean, we're all children from the mother, you know. So basically, I think both Evo Morales in Bolivia and Rafael Correa in Ecuador, who are the first to establish in their constitution rights of the earth, they pushed very much to the idea that should be called like it was called in the time of the Incas, Pachamama or Mother Earth, Tierra Madre, la Tierra Madre Tierra, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's the Mother Earth really rings true with me. I mean, we really cannot live without the Mother.
That's why. It's so simple like that, but it seems very difficult. Even ecologists, and especially political ecologists, they tend to not accept that, you know, because basically Mother Earth implies a relationship to her that is different of resources and exploitation and growing and progress and all of that. It means you either work with her for her or you're working against her, and that's something difficult for politicians. And as I said, academic ecologists and all of that tend to have a little difficulties to accept the word Mother Earth, you know. But we are also working very hard to make the people understand that this is the way it was called in most cultures in the world forever, and that's something we have to come back to that too.
So you've influenced the areas, like Muntu was saying, the energy. You create an energy by loving the planet. So yeah. You've had an incredible effect on where you are, because you say the town nearby has become a cultural center for the ecology, for the spiritual development, all the things that they all start by loving nature.
Yeah, and the people around here defend all this area. I mean, we have had different times in the time we have been here in which big enterprises and government have tried to do mega projects here, and the community raised itself, took the village, threw away the authorities, make blockades and pushed away police forces and everything. We were for a year and a half a free municipality, you know, and the community here all around, especially the people, the autochthonous people from here, are very, very, they're warrior-like, you know, so when there is something they don't like, they stop it, basically, especially the women.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating. Tell me a bit more about this struggle you went through. They tried to privatize your community?
Not the community, the whole. They wanted to create a mega project in Tepoztlan. That was called the war of the Gulf War, but not golf from like in Iran. The golf, the playing golf, because the idea they wanted to create a golf course.
Okay.
So if you look someplace in the in Google or whatever in the history of this country, you will find La Guerra del Golfo, and del Golf, perdón, War of Golf, and then you'll find out because it brought people from all over the world to see what happened here, because basically we got rid of political parties, we got rid of the police, of the government, the municipality, and we became an autonomous community like the Zapatista communities in Chiapas. And the Zapatistas came here at that time, and we went there also at that same time to say basically that's where the direction we have to go. You were saying before, eco-village is the way to go, like when you want to create your own community. But I mean, municipalities exist, and they are it's like counties in the states or in other places, and especially small communities or municipalities, they can very easily turn into eco-municipalities, And that's in a way what I think is happening in Chiapas, and it's happening in different places right now here in Mexico. It's like the people is organizing in an autonomous way, and they're saying, we don't want any more government, outside government. We don't want more political parties. We want to have autonomous municipalities, And I think that's a good direction. And eco-villages are a good example and a good prototype and a good model for those communities. And that's what I think we're starting to move that direction too.
Wow. So you've basically decentralized the government there. You've basically taken control.
That's it. It's returning the control to the people. They're returning the control to the communities. And, it's not easy. The machine, the matrix is very strong, and it's doing everything to try to smash this movement. But the Zapatistas have been now more than 20 years with their autonomous communities and municipalities, and the government has not been able to smash them,
I know that. I think that they had some sort of an armed conflict on occasion, right? The Zapatistas with the Mexican
government and the army in '94. In '94, they had a confrontation, a military confrontation for a couple of weeks. They had a war going on, but then there was a response from the nation and also from the international forces that went over there and said, we are with the indigenous people, we are with the Mayan people, and you cannot destroy what they are doing. So basically, even if the government made a circle, around those by region, all that area, they could not smash that movement, and they have to start to make an agreements. And now it's 20 years of agreements, and the communities continue being autonomous communities. They have the self-government.
Okay, we're approaching the break, Alberto, so we'll get you back in about 5 minutes. Thanks so much for joining us. And Hey, welcome back to I Am Nature. I'm here with my guest, Alberto Ruz, who lives in Mexico and is doing amazing work down there, helping to create more and more eco-communities. But you know what, Alberto, just give me a minute. I have to talk about the importance of supporting this amazing network called Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And folks, what I'd like you to do is go to the homepage, freedomslips.com, scoot over a few titles to support us, and let's go through all the options there, folks. I mean, there's a monthly support club. Oh, God, we've got to start our gardens. It's about time out here in Canada and the U.S. Let's get these seed packs going. There's a $60, $100, and a $200 pack. There's a one-time donation option. You can get your personal chat room icon for only $5. And you can also advertise right on our site for $25 a month. I mean, you really cannot donate to a more worthy organization. We are putting out the real news, what's really happening on this planet, and everyone here is doing it for free. And so it's really important that you support this amazing station. Okay, well, over the break, we were chatting about one of Angela's favorite topics. It's the Tolkien calendar. And I guess, Alberto, you know a fair bit about this as well.
Yeah. Angela said before that her son is half Mayan. Me too, I am half Mayan.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And he is a blue solar monkey, my son.
Blue solar monkey. Well,
Uh-huh.
we're all the same family.
Yeah, blue monkeys everywhere.
Yeah. When we get together, 13 monkeys, the world is going to change.
Nice. At one time in my house, I had six blue monkeys. Obviously, all monkeys are blue. We had six blue monkeys and one yellow resonant sun, and I was like, "Wow, that poor sun."
Yeah, we're getting there. Yeah.
Hence the reason for your picture on Skype too.
Correct.
Finally figured that one out.
Yeah, well, as I said, my mother was from Yucatan, from Campeche, and she was half Mayan people, family. And then my father was born actually in France, but he became a revolutionary in Cuba, and then he became an archaeologist here in Mexico. And he spent all his life, his adult life, as an archaeologist studying the Mayas and reconstructing the most important ceremonial centers from the south. He was chief of operations and reconstruction of Chichen, Uxmal, Palenque, and Yaxchilan, and Laoltun, and Chaltun, and most of the most important sacred centers in the south. So I basically grew up with Mayan friends and with Mayan archaeologists in the house visiting my father and going from place to place, living like being the son of the, ¿cómo se llama? This guy who made the films of the Arch, the Lost Arch, La Arca Perdida, ¿cómo se llama? Well, adventurous. My father was an adventurous. He was an archaeologist, and I guess I took a lot from him from that experience.
That sounds awesome. And then you are also turning it forward, and your son also seems very awesome. Did you say it was your son who is a permaculture specialist and musician?
My elder son is a permaculture teacher, and he's also he's a musician, and now my grandson also is a permacultural student and a musician as well.
Nice. My son is a musician as well, and he's actually getting very interested in the permaculture world and plans on traveling in the near future. So that's pretty cool.
How old is he?
He's 25.
Okay, well, my grandson is 19, so they're probably closest in generation. My elder son is now 43 or 44, but I mean, I don't see difference between me, my son, and my grandson. We're basically all the same age.
Nice. Well, it sounds like you have a wonderful family. Starting with your parents, and then I'm just wondering, what about their parents?
Their parents. Well, the story goes back. In fact, my grandfather, and my great grandfather they're both work and fought in the independence of Cuba, and they were working in the anti-slave movement, and they were exiled and then thrown away from Cuba, and so they have to go to live first in the States and then in France, and that's how my father got to be born in France. But when he got 21 years, he said, "I want to go back to Cuba," so he joined the revolution in Cuba against the dictator Batista, and he was very active in the revolution back then. And then he was thrown away from Cuba, and that's how he came in the 1935, 34, 35 to Mexico as a political exile. And that's when he became an archaeologist and started studying the Mayan culture, and that's what he did all the way to the end of his life. When he died in Canada, by the way. He died in Montreal. Where he was doing a series of presentations and talks in different universities. And at that time, he was the head of the National Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology here in Mexico City. So, yeah, and now he's buried in Palenque. He has his own pyramid in front of the tomb of Pacal in the heart of Palenque.
Wow. That's amazing.
Oh, that's beautiful. What a great story. And tell me again, what did he discover? What was his big discovery of the Mayan artifacts?
Yeah, well, in Palenque is a ceremonial center. It's in Chiapas, right in the zone of the Zapatistas. there is one of the most important ceremonial archaeological sites of Mexico. It's called Palenque. And in Palenque, when he was doing the cleanup of the area and restoration of the temples and the pyramids, he found out the entrance to the tunnel who went inside of the pyramid. He worked 4 years digging inside of the pyramid, and at the end, he found this chamber. And inside of this chamber, there was this incredible stone, which under this stone there was the tomb of the greatest and most important king priest of the Mayans, which is Pacal Botan. And that's where Jose Argüelles got all his information, was from Palenque, from the tomb of Pacal, and from Pacal himself. So that's why I'm so connected to the calendar movement and to Argüelles, is because most of his information came precisely from that place where my father brought back to the world, because it was covered by the jungle.
So you were like sitting right there while your dad is discovering this amazing place.
Yeah, I was 7 years old, and I was the first kid to enter into that tomb.
Wow.
And that became the most important archaeological discovery. That was done in 52. Well, until now, before that, never in America had been a discovery of that importance. But since then, there's been a few very important ones. But Pacal's tomb, royal tomb in Palenque, continues to be like the most important archaeological discovery in the Americas.
Yeah, so it's probably a big tourist area. It's a big moneymaker for Mexico. People go there a lot.
Unfortunately, that's what's become. By the time we were there was not even roads. We had to get there by train, and there with horses and by boat and all of different things. Now there is an international airport, and it's a big village that grew up since then. And there is thousands and thousands, if not millions, of tourists coming every year, and many hotels and it's become a very major, important touristic center that is bringing millions and millions to this country as well. Yeah.
Right. So, so you actually traveled with your dad when he was doing this work? Were you homeschooled?
I was in school, but every time I had holidays, which was 2 months a year, I went with him wherever he was, and I spent those 2 months living in the jungle with him. And he made me work 4 hours as a worker. But then I had the rest of the day to be up in the jungle, up in the trees and the rivers, hunting and running after monkeys and escaping from jaguars and from crocodiles. And if I tell you this story like this, it sounds like I'm making it up. But I wish I could have the imagination to make up all what I'm saying. My life has been like that. It's been an adventure almost from the moment I was born, and it's been an adventure until today.
Well, it sounds absolutely unique, absolutely amazing, and wow. Not too many people can compare their lives to what you've gone through. You've really had. But I find this is the theme, and it's fairly consistent with the people I've spoken with now who have lived in eco-villages. They had amazing parents, most of them, and they created amazing kids.
Yeah, well, I have the same experience. I think, that's what I'm trying to do with my children. To have incredible children and incredible grandchildren too, because I think there is something that goes from generation to generation. Not always and not all of them. I have 4 children and I have 6 grandchildren. And I don't think all of them are going to be permaculturists or artists or all of that. But anyway, if 2 or 3 or 4 of them are, I think that I've done my job. I've done well my job. And I passed that stick or that baston, that experience. I passed that information to them too, so they can continue it as well, But especially now, I have the young people like me, For some reason, they look for me, and I become like an example for many of them, because after the Eco Village, I did this Rainbow Peace Caravan, and I was always traveling with young people, and I'm now going to concerts, to rock concerts. 2 days ago, I was with Santana in a concert, and
Santana?
Yeah,
Holy cow! I didn't realize it was that big a festival.
yeah, and
Tell us about that. What was it like being with Santana?
And 2 weeks ago, I was in the Amazons with Manu Chao. That maybe you also have heard from Manu Chao. You know,
I haven't heard of that person.
Manu Chao is become now the new what it would be like new John Lennon from South America and Latin America. You know, his songs are basically sung by all the young people. They're all talking about resistance. They're talking about legalization. They're talking about clandestinos, about people who are immigrants. They are talking about Zapatistas. So Manu Chao is like an idol now in South America and Central America, in Mexico as well. And I was in the Amazons, 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, I was in a concert with them, playing in the heart of the Amazons, and I was speaking in this concert to 5,000 people, you know, young people. I'm very close to youth, you know, and I'm always inspiring them to not to stop thinking or dreaming or how the next world should be, how the world in which they want to live should be. They should start doing it, you know. Basically, we have the Mayans, Zapatistas told us when we went there. They said we have had enough time to dream. Now we have to wake up and build our dreams, live our dreams, and that's what I've been doing all my life. You know, I'm a dreamer, but I'm a dream maker, you know, and I like to make my dreams become reality. And I did it since I was a kid, because I was reading all the stories of childhood where you talk about adventures and Huckleberry Finn and Mark Twain and Salgari and all those, Jules Verne and all of that. And I said, I want to be one of them. So basically, I never wanted just to stay with the idea or the fantasy of how the world should be. I always thought we have to build the world where we want to live. Because if there is not another world, if there is a next world or next reincarnation, we have to make it now. And that's what inspired me to make eco-villages. You know, basically, at a certain moment, I said, I can spend all my life doing rallies and manifestations and going to jail and being beat up and maybe take a gun and fight in the revolution. But basically, what is history has shown us that's not brought the world where we want to live. You know, basically, the world has to be small. Small is beautiful. When you go to small is beautiful, you start to think about small communities, about municipalities or indigenous communities. And then from there, you jump to eco-villages. That's exactly what my path has been until now.
Yeah, I really think that it's the simplest and the easiest solution to all the major problems on the planet. I mean, really, you bring the people close to their food and their water, and there's no toxins through the production of food, so you eliminate most of the disease, which is right now just rampant in Western society. Yeah. And then the people become empowered because they are making the decisions. They have real political power, not this phony democracy we have now.
Right.
And so it just solves so many. The things the issues that aren't going to get solved with eco-villages are things like geoengineering, nuclear power plants, things of this sort. But then through things like the rights of nature, this is what I love about what you're doing. Alberto, to me, you are the complete manifestation of what humans should be. You've got the micro going, and you've got the macro going, because we're going to get to that next. But before we get to the rights of nature stuff, I want to get. We were going to talk about this peace caravan. Okay, now you talked about it earlier, but are you still doing the peace caravan even though you're 70 years old now?
No, when I decided to, as I said, we first were a traveling nomadic group, you know, and that I did it for 8 or 10 years. Then we got here to the land, to Huehuecoyoc, and I spent 13 years not only creating this eco-village of this community, but creating also a network in Mexico, and a strong network, which is called Vision Council of Earth Guardians, Consejo de Visiones de Guardianes de la Tierra, le Conseil de Vision de Gardiens de la Terre. So this became a movement. This movement now is 22, 23 years old, and it has become a national movement in this country. So after 13 years here in Huehuecoyoc, I started to feel the wanderlust again, and I started to feel that I had to move, that I had been already in Europe, in North Africa, in Asia, in India, and all those different places, but I had never been in South America. So when I was 50 years old, I decided to start a new caravan. And I said, well, everybody said, well, gonna you live your paradise. You live in paradise. The eco-village in Huehuecoyot is very beautiful. It's now very active. Everybody knows about Huehuecoyot. A lot of actions are happening over there. Networks have been created there. People is being formed there. Where you want to travel again? I said, because if I don't do it now, I'm not going to do it anymore. And I want to go to South America. I have been told by my elders, my indigenous Mayan elders, that I have to go all the way to Tierra del Fuego and bring the message all the way to Tierra del Fuego. So I said, well, are you going to leave everything behind? I said, yeah, I'm going to leave everything behind. So what do you need? Well, I need a bus. So I said, well, how are you going to get the bus? Well, I'm going to send a message to the universe. And at that time, we didn't have Skype, or we didn't have internet. So I'm going to send a fax to the different people I know in different places that said, I need a bus. If somebody wants to give me a bus, I commit myself to go to South America, And 2, 3, 4 months later, a friend of mine from the Bioregional Congress from the United States and Canada, Bioregional Movement, said, I have a bus for you. Do you want it? It's an old school bus. But I can bring it to Mexico if you really want to go to South America. Say, yeah, bring it to me. So in 95, 96, she arrived with the bus and she said, well, here are the keys. Now make your caravan, So in 96, I started a new caravan. And I decided that I was going to go all the way to Tierra del Fuego, to, Fire Island in the end of the continent, I say, how are you going to go? Well, I'm just going to start going. And then when I start going, I'm going to go to the first town closest here, and from there to the next one, and then from the next town to the one. But do you have money? No, I don't have any money. Do you have a crew? No, I don't have a crew. Do you have? No, I don't. I'm going to find that as I'm going to keep going.
You went by yourself?
No, I started with about 10 people.
Oh, okay.
So we took off for our Eco Village in July 96. And the first place we went was with the Zapatistas in Chiapas. They invited us to be present and participate in one big convention that we're having in the middle of the jungle. We got there maybe 6,000 people to the middle of the jungle, people from all over the world. We were received by Subcomandante Marcos, which was the main spokesperson from the movement Zapatista. And we told him that's what we're going to do. I said, well, blessings, keep going. Bring the message of the Mayan Zapatistas to the rest of the indigenous countries in South America. I said, we will. So from there, we went to Guatemala, and we met with Don Alejandro. Angela was speaking before about Don Alejandro, who was also...
because Michael Baker also respects them. Yeah.
Very respectable.
He's your elder.
Eh?
Don Alejandro is your elder.
He must be now 80-something, And he was basically one of the main actors from the peace movement that started in Guatemala and ended up a 33 years dictatorship where hundreds of thousands of people were killed. And he got all the 28 Mayan nations together to make the peace treaties. And then he became a very important leader, spiritual and political leader. I always said he was like a Mayan Gandhi, And he became my teacher, So we went to Guatemala, and then from Guatemala, he said, yeah, I'll give you the blessing. We were in a meeting of elders from all America, indigenous people from all South America, North America, and in Mexico. And they all said, go ahead. And, we give you our blessings and green light. Go to Tierra del Fuego. And that's how I started. I went from Guatemala to Salvador, from Salvador to Nicaragua, Costa Rica, Panama. And then when I got to Panama, I said, well, if I'm able to cross to South America, to Colombia, then from there on, there's no way back. And I did cross to Panama, and I got to Colombia. When I was 1 year on the road, I was arriving to Colombia. And then I continued going, Colombia, Amazons, Venezuela, Ecuador, and in Peru and Chile and Argentina. By the time I got to Tierra del Fuego in the end of the continent in Argentina, I had already been traveling for 9 years. And
wow.
I had
9-year track. That's
and I had already traveled with me. Maybe 200 or 300 people had already traveled with me by then. To the first bus, I got the second bus. To the second bus, I got a third one. And by the time I got to Tierra del Fuego, we were already a big tribe of 35 people traveling in these buses, old buses, doing performances, workshops, teaching people how to live on the land, to permaculture.
wow, beautiful. We'll have to continue this story after the break, Alberto. Thanks so much. You've had an amazing life.
Okay.
Okay, we'll be back in 5 minutes. Thanks for listening to I Am Nature. Welcome back to I Am Nature. I have Alberto Ruz as my guest, and he is just an amazing, amazing person, has had a full life, to put it mildly. And he was just telling us about this journey he started, 9-year journey through Central and South America with his peace caravan. And you what were you doing with the peace caravan, Alberto?
Yeah, the name was Caravana Arcoiris por la Paz, which is Rainbow Peace Caravan.
Rainbow.
When I say rainbow, is because basically back when I was in India, I'm talking now centuries ago, but anyway, from there and then in the States and living with different indigenous communities, especially from America, I got to this legend, which is the legend of the Rainbow Warriors, and then the legend of the Rainbow Warriors.
Well, I thought that was North American.
Yeah, but first I got the message from in India, because I started at that time. I was with chakras and I was trying to get rid of all the bad trips I had taken on LSD, and I was trying to put all that together in my head and on my soul. And I went to different ashrams, and I went with Dalai Lama, and I got several initiations. And I said, well, I have to change my track. And then when I came back to the States, and I was living in California, I lived 4 years in California. I got into know the legend of the Rainbow Warriors. And I said, well, that's exactly the legend of the Rainbow Warriors tells me what I want to do in this life, So I became a student from all the different movements who had to do with the legend of the Rainbow Warriors. And I published several books. One of them in New Mexico, which is Rainbow Nation Without Borders, And then in one other one in Italy, which was called Arcobaleno, un popolo senza confini, Rainbow, People Without Borders. And then I wrote one in Mexico, which is called Guerreros del Arcoiris, the Rainbow Warriors. So basically I became a specialist in Rainbow Warriors legends and its history. And then basically I took from the legends, I took from the archetype of the rainbow, which is including of everything basically, which is I think the most beautiful manifestation of nature and the cosmic bridge between Earth and the heaven and the sky, or the Father, Son, and Mother Earth, And I said, I want to be a rainbow warrior, and I want to make as much as I can do in the rest of my life to make this legend be known and to make many people become peaceful warriors, spiritual peaceful warriors. And that's what I've been doing now since the 70s, So,
well, tell us a bit more about the Rainbow Warrior legend.
Well, basically, I found in California a small real book which was called The Rainbow Warriors, who was written by two indigenous people, and who basically collected stories and dreams from people from Alaska all the way to Tierra del Fuego, which were all of them saying basically the same thing. There is a moment in which our civilization is going to end up destroying the air. It's going to destroy the water. It's going to destroy the air, the water, the earth, the wind, the air, and the spirit also. And alcohol and wars and all those different things are going to make that the spirit of the earth will be basically in danger. And he say when the rivers are going to be poisonous, or when the air is going to be poisonous, when the earth is going to be dry, and when the animals are going to start dying, when basically life is going to become almost impossible in our mother, then it's going to come a new family, a new tribe, a new nation made out from people who is not going to recognize themselves because of their passports or the nationalities or the religions, ideologies, the color of the skin. And all these people are going to be recognized because they all recognize themselves as children of the earth. And then these children from the earth are going to start working to restore the balance and the harmony of us human beings with the rest of nature. I said, and I said, well, I dig that, And at that moment, Greenpeace started, with the Rainbow Warrior boat, and then the Rainbow movement started to grow. The Rainbow Nation movement started to grow out of the hippie movement in the States. And then Jesse Jackson started to speak about Rainbow Coalition, and Rainbow Banks started to sprout in Europe. And then I started to collect all those different stories, and I started to collect all the legends from different countries and cultures who had to do with the rainbow. And I wrote this book, Rainbow Nation Without Borders, which became very... And then that became like a manifesto, for all this new nation growing up from people who are basically don't accept political parties, don't accept borders, geopolitical borders, and who are turning back to the land and turning back to nature. And that's what I've been doing now since the 70s, So when I created a Rainbow Peace Caravan, I wanted very much to call it, well, now the all gay lesbian movement also took also the flag of the rainbow. But all those flags come from two flags. One is the flag from the Hopi in Arizona, which is the Four Nations, the peace nation of Hopi land, saying that we are coming from four different nations, the black nation, the white nation, the red nation, and the yellow nation. We are coming from the corn, and all the corn, the corn, and mixed with the blood of the gods created humanity. And that's what the Mayans said, and that's what the Mapuche said. And many of the indigenous people from the continent said the same thing. And in fact, now we're not anymore black or yellow or red or white. We're Rainbow Nation. And America is the place from the corn, and America is the place with all the nations who came from Asia, from the north, or who came from Africa, from the slaves, who came from the white people from Europe and the red people from America. Now we became this nation made out from all the nations. And this is the moment in which this nation from all the nations has to be bringing the spirit back and the restoration of the Mother Earth. So I said, well, that tells exactly what I want to do. So as I said, that explained for me basically what I believed, what I thought it was my path in this lifetime. And that's when I started the Rainbow Peace Caravan. That's what I call it again, Rainbow Peace Caravan, And that's how my bus was painted as a corn hub, and it had Quetzalcoatl, which is the god of wisdom from the Aztecs, and it had the rainbow. And then the second flag that I went to the encounter is the flag of the Huipala in South America, in the Andes, in the Inca people. And that was the oldest flag in the continent. And that flag is 7 rainbows, So I said, well, and everywhere we went, we were received by the indigenous people and the traditional people to say, you are the legend. You are a walking legend. You are a living legend from what we were expecting. You and all the people who recognize themselves like rainbow people, rainbow, not anymore Europeans, Americans, Palestinians, Israelis, black or Asians, but people from the earth, So what we did was basically to take that story, to turn it into a play, into games, into songs, into performance, into festivals, and we were bringing that message everywhere we went. So we went to hundreds of small communities, indigenous communities, favelas in the cities, and everywhere we just got together with the communities and live in the communities and work with the communities and play with the communities and played that's what we did. Learn from every place we went and teach what we were bringing from all the different places to each one of the different places we went. And my crew was, as I said, they were mostly young people, and each one of them were coming from universities, dropouts, people who had just finished the school, and they wanted to do something good for the earth and for the people. And I said, well, what do you want to do? Well, I studied this. Well, apply what you learn and apply it to, because this is a living school. The Rainbow Peace Caravan is a living school, and you're going to teach everywhere we go what you have learned. And you're going to learn in every place we go what these people have to teach you. So we had people maybe from 40 different nations traveling with us, more than 400 people, 450 people who travel with us, who are now activists everywhere in the planet. We have some of these young people who have become important leaders of permaculture, eco-villages, and artistic groups everywhere. I mean, basically everywhere, because we had people, like I said, from all the continents.
You were like the Findhorn of Central and South America.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's in a way. Yeah, that's what we did. And when we arrived finally 9 years later to Tierra del Fuego, which was what I commit myself. I said, I'm going to take the rainbow flag, I'm going to plant it in the ice in the end of the continent. When we did finally that, we went to the glaciers in South America and Tierra del Fuego. I said, well, what do we do next? And in that moment, we got an invitation to go to Brazil and to make a big event, to make a big gathering, a big powwow, a big encounter in Brazil. So we went to Brazil. We did this encounter, maybe 1,500 people in this big event, ecological event, artistic event with indigenous people and all of that. And after that, I was asked by the Minister of Culture of Brazil, which was a black Rasta musician, political exilé, who fought against the dictatorship in Brazil. He said, I'm now a minister. I dig what you're doing. What do you need to do and go to the last corners of this huge continent that is Brazil? I said, I need this and this and that. He said, you got it. So we stayed 4 years in Brazil, going through all Brazil. Basically, we went to the most incredible places, from the Iguazu waterfalls all the way to the Amazons, from the Amazons to the deserts, to the jungles, going to small communities most of the time, or to the cities, to the slums and to the favelas, to work with the communities, with the marginal communities from all over Brazil.
Absolutely amazing. I'm just overwhelmed with the good work that you have done. And so you were basically, were you being subsidized by the government then, or were you just given a free pass to go wherever you wanted in the country?
In Brazil was the only place in 13 years where actually the journey was 13 years. But in the 2 years of the 4 years we were in Brazil, we got the support, economical support from the government. And that's when we were really able to go very fast from place to place, and we could reach out a lot. Because the rest of the time we have to depend on the grace of the Great Spirit, on faith, on the help of the people in the communities, on the work we were doing place to place to get the money to get to the next place. But
right.
When we got to Brazil, they said, we want you to go to as many places as you can go. And we actually, in 2 years, we went to 100 different communities.
Did you make a movie about your adventure, this 13-year trek to basically lift the consciousness of the people?
Well, many documentaries were made. One was made by HBO, and was called The Rainbow Warriors: Acts of Faith. And he was sent to different festivals in New York and all of that. Then in Brazil, we got a woman from there, from Toronto, Alice Klein. Have you heard about Alice Klein?
No, I haven't.
She's a filmmaker and an ecologist, and she came to Brazil and she made a film with us, which is called in English, The Call of the Hummingbird, because that was the name of the event we organized in Brazil, The Call of the Hummingbird. And she made also a feature film from that. And then one of our students, or one of the people who travel with us in the caravan, who works now in the University of Montana, he also came and spent three months doing another film with us, which is bridge makers, or bridge makers also. So many the documentaries. I published a couple of books on the journey too. One of them is So Many Roads, and well, I have albums and albums and albums of interviews, of newspapers, of magazines, of videos, from all this 13 years journey. But the big film of the caravan has still not been made. So that's one of the things I want to do before I die.
Okay. Does Raul fit into that picture?
Mm-hmm.
Raul Alvarez?
Yeah. I would like, yeah, that's, if I could have made many films by myself, that's one of the things I was not able to do. To have really good cameras and to have all the equipment that now exists. I was traveling. We started this journey in '96, so internet and all this cyber world is very recent. Otherwise, we could have been making films all the time, even a series. That's what I wanted to do, a series, from all the places we were going. But we have that material, and I have 50,000 slides, and I have thousands of photos, digital photos also from that journey. So one day, if not me, my children or my grandchildren are going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds. I don't know what I can compare it to. It's quite a unique
it is
journey you took.
It is a unique adventure. Really, I'm not.
I can't compare it to anything in history. I'm not a super historian, but I can't think of anyone who went on such a pilgrimage. I mean, of course, like great spiritual leaders did this stuff, but not in a musical context.
Yeah, and basically living in a bus, basically not in airplanes and not arriving to hotels, not going to restaurants, making our food every place we went, teaching people how to live in community, how to take decisions, how to resolve their problems, how to make shitters, how to make water harvesting, how to plant gardens, how to build ovens, solar ovens, how to make latrines, how to make water harvesting. I mean, all those different things were part of our journey. We were teaching that from here all the way to Brazil, So the young people who was traveling with me were doing it. Basically, the performance was the way to get into the community, because once you get with the community, you could do all the rest. But the theater, the music, the dance, the clowns, the circus, gave us the entrance to the community. Once we went into communities, the community accepted anything we did. And that's when we started with workshops, and we always ended up with a big communal party where we had all the community bringing food, bringing their music, bringing their whole thing, saying goodbye to the caravan, crying because we were leaving, and then moving to the next place. It was really an incredible story. It is an incredible story.
Oh wow! I mean, I really hope you do chronicle such an amazing journey, because it could be replicated by others. I'm sure other people have done such a thing.
Yeah.
Did anybody continue your work in Brazil after you left?
Yeah, we left when one of our buses. We left in Brazil with one group, and that group is still doing it over there. But basically, I think this story has inspired a lot of young people to do it. And now, none of them has been able to be 13 years on the road. But we have already some of our young caravaneros, caravan people who have gone 3-4 years traveling already. And now they have the means, they have good buses, they have internet and board, they have good cameras, and they are sending programs. There is one of them, Common Earth, Tierra Común Tierra, who are doing that very, very well. Now they are in Brazil, but they came through Mexico. Now they are reached already Brazil, and they have become like networkers for the whole movement. Because another thing I had to say is that we didn't have money, economical support, but we had the support from Global Eco Village Network. Global Eco Village, we were some form of an extension, a school, or living. We will call them a living and learning center from the Global Eco Village Network. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and the Global Eco Village Network had they were all in America, and they have the North American Eco Village Network of the Americas. So we became the caravan. We became the nomadic part of the Global Eco Village Network here in America. So we had basically newspapers, we had information, we could refer the people we're talking about, say, we are not alone in this. This is not on a crazy adventure of us only. We are part of a global network of eco-villages. So one of the things we were doing was planting the seed of eco-villages everywhere we went, and we helped create several national eco-villages networks in Colombia, in Costa Rica, in Venezuela, and in Brazil, and in Chile, And so that was very important aspect of our journey, was to not only to travel for traveling, but because we were networking with all the local organizations or local communities, local movements, and local people who are trying to find solutions to the basic problems that society has today and that we are all confronting in this moment in history, So, yes, it's important to remember that, the Aboriginal movement in North America and Canada and the Eco-Village Network and the Consejo de Visiones of Mexico were always backing us. As I said, maybe not with money, but we had their support, their spiritual support, and some of their people who came and spent time with us and did workshops and participated in the journey for months and sometimes for more than that.
Do you have a museum to summarize and chronicle the work that you did?
A museum I don't have. I'm trying to put together my studio now, because my studio basically became the bus. And when I left Huehuecoyo, my community, all my studio went into boxes as well. So now in the last year, for the first time after 18 years, I'm trying to organize that museum, which is the posters, the videos, the photographs, the books, the archives, all of that. And I just hope that I could have 2 or 3 people helping me doing that.
I was going to say I'm for hire. I work cheap.
Angela's also into making movies.
Yeah, great.
As a matter of fact, while you were talking about all of this, I was thinking about a good friend of mine who's involved with a project that we're all putting together, a film fund, actually. And her name is Chris Weber. She was high up over at Discovery Channel and also worked at Nat Geo for a really long time, and has done different documentaries over the years, including Treasure Seekers, the Lost Tribe of the Inca. She just did a bunch of different. She did Code of the Maya Kings. All these different documentaries throughout the years. She's got about a 30-year history. She's amazing. So at some point, if it's appropriate, I would definitely introduce you to.
Please do it. I'm just sending you the name is Alice Klein. I think she's in Toronto, who made this documentary called The Call of the Hummingbird. And she's an amazing woman. And she has this documentary she made with us in this event in Brazil. So maybe you can let her know that I've been in this program, and then maybe we can reconnect with her, because I haven't heard from her for a few years. But anyway, any project that has to do with publishing and with making documentaries of...
Uh-oh, did we lose him?
I think he hit his mute button.
Oh, I'm not sure. Hello, Alberto. What an amazing person, right?
I mean, he's like off the charts.
It's crazy. Yeah, he should be reconnecting shortly. He probably just had some type of a glitch. But, Brian, all of your guests have been, amazing. Each week is an amazing individual, and Alberto's no slouch either.
Oh, I mean, he's redefined the pilgrimage. I mean, really, it's just what he's done is just, it's got to be chronicled. It's got to be remembered, because I think this is a vehicle that could help save the planet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's so accessible. Everybody likes going to theater. Everyone likes
hanging out with Santana.
Oh,
I mean, wow. Hello.
Yeah. No, exactly.
Let's see. What are his websites? You gave them to me. So while we're trying to reconnect with Alberto, we have some websites that people can find out more information.
I sent them to you. Let me just see here.
I've got them right here.
Yeah.
Wow.
I can spell it to you if you want, or put it on air. It's HUEHUECOYOTI.net.
Is that an I or an L? You think that's an L? I think it's an L.
an L. Yeah. Oh, sorry, L. Yeah. God, I put my glasses on. Yeah, that's his eco village.
Okay, Hugh Coyotl.
The caravan site. It's a blog spot. It's caravan arcoiris.blogspot.ca, which is interesting because that's usually a Canadian website ending.
That is Canadian. So interesting. It's Caravana Aquaris.
Aquaris, yes. .blogspot.ca. Yeah. And I in the last part of the show, we'll talk about connecting with them because he's definitely someone who inspires.
Absolutely, it's amazing. I'm inspired. So I'm trying to bring him back in the call. In the meantime, if you want to, what would you like to talk about while we're waiting?
Maybe we lost the Skype connection, eh?
Maybe with Alberto, but I think we are live on the air.
Oh no, yeah, we're still live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we're getting close to a break.
Yeah, and, we are. That's a blessing. Okay, hello. We are trying to connect to you. Everyone, you're listening to Revolution Radio, by the way, if you didn't know. This is Studio B. Every week at 6 p.m. Eastern is I Am Nature with Brian Porter, and I'm lucky enough to produce this show, and that's awesome in its own right. And you just have had the most amazing guests. So everyone, each week you can check it out, and also if you subscribe to the archives, and in case you missed anything, I highly recommend listening to.
I've had a few people say they've subscribed to the archives because of the show. I'm new on the network. A lot of people don't know I'm out there, but I think the fact that the archive exists is really significant.
Thanks,
because every one of my guests has been stellar, and I listen to my shows over and over again because I miss stuff. Mm-hmm. And I've done the show, but I miss stuff. Like I was listening to the Michael Baker show, and he brought up a few things, and I followed up on those. I'm going to try to get these organizations on. So there's some really cool stuff happening in the U.S. and Canada too. I just haven't had time to get around to it.
Yeah, you've been pretty busy.
It isn't all out of country, but that's one of the things I wanted to. That's what we're going to get to next in the interview is the rights of nature stuff. That's what brought Alberto to me, is the fact that he's also involved in the rights of nature movement.
Nice.
Believe it or not. On top of all the other great stuff that he's done, he's also involved in that. So it's just absolutely amazing.
Well, I am glad to hear that you are listening to the archives. Yeah, I mean, you pick up new things each time you're listening, and there are websites and information happening on shows. Okay, great. We will be right back, everyone. A short break, and then we'll hopefully be back with Alberto Ruz. And you are listening to I Am Nature with Brian Porter.
All right. See you soon, guys.
Cualquiera de los que tengo ahí. Más creo que tengo uno aquí. Cuidado porque se... ¿se le hablaste o qué?
Vamos a prescribir.
Alberto, are you back with us?
I am back with you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Somehow this happens on occasion on Revolution Radio. The Skype connection can be fickle.
Okay, well, we also have a little storm here happening, and there is, it could also have been there, but I'm back. So
awesome. Awesome. So I was just getting ready to read from your website about how people can visit your eco village and stay for the night and all that kind of stuff, but we don't have to go there now. So let's get back to this idea of chronicling your incredible journey. I really think that you should maybe you should look for funding to set up a museum. Yeah,
a few years ago I was in Kansas, invited by a university who offered me to, because they had in that university they have something like a libertarian part of the university, and they had a library. They have documentaries from all the libertarian movements in the world, and they told me that they were very interested in to have access to all of that material. But then I went into the caravan, and finally I've been doing so many things, and I continue. Like I said, I thought that when I came back from the caravan, I was gonna rest, but and I was gonna have the time to organize all those memories and all that information and all those archives and photos. But already when I came back from the caravan after 13 years, right away I got into some work in the city, in Mexico City, and then here in the state of Morelos where we live, and I haven't had any time. But basically, I continue being an activist and forming people and teaching and learning from all the things I have done in my life, and I haven't had any time more than 4 or 5 months to try to organize my studio, and I haven't been able to do it basically. But maybe when I grow old, I'm going to be able to do it.
Oh yeah, you're good for another 30 years, Alberto.
Okay, thank you.
At least. So let's talk a bit more about the Vision Council of Earth Guardians.
Yeah, okay. So 22, 23 years ago, when we were, making the co-village here, when we were creating this network in Mexico, we decided that we had to have a yearly event where we could bring together all the different movements. Basically, I have always considered that one of the problems with the different movements that they get isolated from each other. Like the ecologists get together with ecologists, and the healers with the healers, and the traditional people with traditional people, and New Age people, and the young with the young. But that we needed to create an event in which we could have all those different movements and people representing and on all those different areas. So that's how we created a Vision Council. And I took some ideas from the Aboriginal movement, some ideas from the indigenous encounters of the powwows, some ideas from the rainbow gatherings in the United States and in Europe, and then we decided to create the first event here in Mexico at an indigenous community. They hosted us in this first event in 1990, in which we brought together, people from 35 different countries and movements from all over this continent, and it was a success. So, because for the first time, ecologists were talking with indigenous people, and they were making indigenous people were doing ceremonies, and ecologists were participating, and there was music, and there were sweat lodges, and there was healing, and there was workshops, and we were living together in the camp in this community, in this indigenous community, Temoaya, and that at the end everybody came out from this experience really excited, and they say, let's continue doing it. So now for the last 22 or 3 years,
No, just to clarify, how long did this event last?
1 week.
1 week.
1 week in which we camp, always in a different space. And in this week, we set up this what we call a temporary peace village, in which all these things are happening all the time, And then you can participate in the ceremonies, you can participate in the ecological council, you can participate with the young people, you can be in the art and culture council, you can go with the spiritual tent, whatever, or you can go to all of them every day, you can go to a few of those different things. So the people mix in all these different areas, they get a little of the idea of how we can basically live together as a community. And sometimes we have 300, 400, 600, 1,000, 1,500 people living in that camp.
Now, how many, can I just clarify, did these people all come from Mexico, or was it
No, from all over the world. We have had some of those events with people from 20, 30 different countries.
Beautiful. Because I'd love to have an event like that in Ottawa or Toronto.
Well,
I think we need to do more of this, because this is what I love about the rights of nature and this council of Earth Guardians. I mean, you're trying to unite because we all are fighting the same problems.
Exactly. And each one of us holds a piece of this new society. For me, the problem with politics is that politics was separated for daily life, and it was separated from spirituality and from healing, and all those different movements usually tend to isolate each other, And I thought that we thought that it was important to create an event in which we could all relate and see that we all creating a new society together. That it's not going to be only one thing. It's not only going to be art. It's not going to be healing. It's not going to be traditional people. It's going to be all of that. We're all parts of the creation of a new society. And this movement that we started in Mexico now is being, we took it in the caravan. I mean, the caravan took this idea, the design of this event, and every country we went, we did events with that same design. In every country we went, in Costa Rica, in Argentina, in Uruguay, in every place we went and we stayed for some months, we did that, So now there is people who's recreating these events on their own, because we left and they continue and they stay there. Some of our people stayed in those countries, and now they're reproducing these kind of events, and now they have these kind of events through the year, in Puerto Rico, in Chile, in Argentina, in Brazil, everywhere, So I think that is one of the important things we have been able to do in these years of trying to go from just protest to proposals, to real proposals, experiences. The people who goes to Vision Council come out transformed, because they say, really, it is possible to live in this way, It's not just an idea, a fantasy. It's not a smoke pipe, a dream, It's something real. We can experience living together as a community, even if it's only for a week. Obviously, for many of those people, that's the way they live all the time, or more part of their life. But at least for the people from the cities who have never had an experience, it's very important. And when we started the caravan, I said, I think one of the important things we can share with the rest of America, Latin America, is to share this experience. And that's what we did. I mean, the caravan, yeah.
It's like a boot camp, eco-village boot camp.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it's brilliant because you don't have to set up a whole eco-village. I mean, that takes years and lots of planning, but you're just giving them a sample of what it's like.
Yeah. And in many cases, the hosts are eco-villages. Like in Brazil, this film that we made in Brazil, it was hosted by an eco-village, like a Brazilian eco-village. And for instance, this year in November, we're going to have the Consejo de Visiones, it's going to be in an eco-village. And the last 4 years, we had the event happening in eco-villages. Because our idea is that it's not only a way to support the eco-village, but it's also a way that the eco-village can show their experience to the rest of the people who participate in this event, And in some cases, it's been eco-villages, and in other cases, it's been indigenous or fisher communities or farmers community that have hosted the event. So we bring all these people to the community, to their communities. It's like a beautiful invasion of ideas, visions, love. It's fantastic. The exchange that happens between the local communities and all these people coming from everywhere, it's fantastic. It's enriching for everyone.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's just so beautiful. I mean, you're just so much in my wheelhouse. This is what I'm trying to do with my show, is bring together the macro and the micro, the people who are trying to do the big social change and the people who are at the grassroots. And you're doing it already, and you've been doing it. I'm so happy to know that you've started this incredible what should I call it? Well, as you call it, a vision
Council
of Earth Guardians, or what? Yeah. Vision Council of Earth Guardians. I just call it the mixing of the micro with the macro.
Yeah, it is. It's exactly, most of cosmologies have been teaching us all through history that the micro and the macro are just reflection one from the other,
Yeah.
And in some place we lost track of that wisdom, and we started to think that they were separated, like we are separated from nature. It's something that was implanted in our lifestyles and our communities, but it's not true. we have never been separated from nature. We are nature. We are part of Mother Earth, you know. So all these different things, and that we're separated from each other because we are Americans, or we are Asians, or we're black, or we're white. It's all those divisions have created the society in which we live. Because when basically you separate from others, you start competing. You know, you stop the cooperation, you stop the help, the self help, and then you start thinking you are better than the others. I mean, it's almost natural. Even in football, you know, if you are part of the green group or you're part of the white group, you start fighting because you think the green is better than the white. And when you make it in politics, it's the same thing. And when you make it in religion, it's the same thing. And when you make it in everything, I mean,
duality.
And the moment you establish duality as a rule for your life, you are in the bad track. You know?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
No, it's more of a mosaic, a cornucopia of beauty. The human race was meant. My own guardian, my own guide, has told me that the way the world's supposed to work is that it's supposed to be a community of communities, literally hundreds of thousands of communities, each different, each unique, but each understanding the basic principles of life, which are that the mother, we must take care of the mother.
Yeah.
We must live by her laws, which are very simple and very easy to understand. And then within that huge community of communities, you can have some collective government or collective overseeing of what's going on. But you don't want millions of people crammed into cities. You don't want this sort of organization that we've come up with. You don't want money systems that deprive the planet of with the basics, you know. So all these communities will meet the needs of everyone, not just a few.
Yeah, exactly. And if we cannot, you know, reach hundreds of thousands of communities, we have to start for dozens of communities, you know, or for tens of communities, because we're setting up an example that it can happen, you know.
Yes, and this is it. You've started it. You've connected with Jen. God, we've hardly had time to even talk about the rights of nature. You have to come on again, Alberto.
Okay, we will. Are we going into a commercial now?
Well, we've only got a few, maybe 5-8 minutes left. So, you know, we can start talking about that a bit, because obviously because of your incredible network, of a lifetime network that you created with your incredible work, that you were attracted. And probably, did they invite you to the Rights of Nature movement? Did you create the Rights of Nature movement? I'm just wondering if you created it. You're so amazing.
No. In fact, no. It was like the natural next step in my life, basically, you know. When I came back from the caravan, I got invited to work for the government in Mexico City in the poor neighborhoods, to take the experience of the caravan in South America to the most marginal neighborhoods in one part of Mexico City. So for 3 years, with my team of 15, 20 people, my wife from Ecuador, and my son, and a group of 10 or 15 people that we formed through these years, we started to go from neighborhood to neighborhood, and working with the community to make, to help form promoters of eco barrios, eco neighborhoods. How to take this idea of eco village to the barrio, to the local city urban community, and we were very successful. You know, for those 3 years, we became a very important and unique program in Mexico City. But then, unfortunately, the government changed, and then that program ended. But then,
what did you actually do, Alberto, in the cities? What did you do to improve the situation for those people?
Well, the first thing is that we created a mobile museum of eco technologies. We collected 50 different answers to the problems of living in the city. You know, water, soil, energy, waste, water collection, all of those different things. We put together very, very real, physical example of how the people could, in their houses, have gardens, harvest water, make solar heaters, all of different things. And then we made it like a exhibition. So we went with this exhibition to the most important centers, community centers of the different pueblos or barrios, and we had it for 2 weeks open. So we had schools, we had the people, everybody who came, who had a tour of the 40 or 50 different eco technologies or sub technologies, appropriate technologies. So when they came out from there, they say, Jesus, I can do this in my house. Say, how can I do it? So the second step is they said, okay, we're going to give a scholarship to 50 of you who want to learn how to do those different things. So immediately we got 40, 50 people who signed, and then for a month we were working in the weekends with those people, 40 people, we were giving them workshops, theoretical, practical experiences, and once they finished the theoretical part and the practical part, we took them to our community. We brought them here to Huehuecoyo, so the people had the opportunity to live, for so many of them, for the first time, to leave the barrios, to leave the city and live in the nature, and live in a nature in a community who's now 30 years old, where they could see that all the things we were talking, we had been living with them and for them all these years.
You took them right out of the city and took them to your eco village.
Exactly, and they stayed for 3 days here. They camped here, and they had workshops and dynamics and visit all those 3 days from morning to night. So after 3 days, we gave them a certificate as promoters of eco barrios, promoters of eco neighborhoods. So now, after that, they went back to their communities and they organized themselves, those who wanted or were inspired to do it or were able to do it, to continue doing projects in the community after this formation that we gave them, And in fact, some of those groups, some of those people are already doing this kind of projects in Mexico City, Some of them, people we prepared then, are helping us now in the projects we are doing in different parts of Mexico, where we are making different projects of eco technology in this country. So they became now part of our team. They started with us, and now they are part of the team. They are making their living, going with us and the different groups that we're taking around to make these different projects happen and work in different parts of the city. So that's what we did for 3 years also in Mexico City. That's why I could not get into organizing my life and my studio. And in that moment, it's when I heard Evo Morales in Denmark, in Copenhagen, in COP17, talking about the rights of Mother Earth. And I said, this is what we need, We need a constitution that puts the rights of the earth first and the rights of people. We have been having already 200 years of fighting for the rights of humanity, Now we have rights for everything, for indigenous people, for black people, for gay people, for children, for schools, for education, and for all the different things. And it's been civil rights and all of that. It's been the result of the long struggle from many generations of people who are giving their lives so we can have those rights. But what happened with the rights of nature? We forgot in all those 200 years that human life, is only one of the aspects of life in this global.
One of 10 million species. One of 10 million.
It's only one of 10,000 of millions of species. So we forgot the most important. At this moment, when I heard Evo Morales, I said, I want to do what he's doing. So immediately I started to search, and then I go to Global Alliance, and that's how I got to know Robin and Munta and Swami Paramvaiti and other people who are doing that, Atiquibo in Colombia, indigenous people, spiritual people, environmental people, Kosh, and all these different people who are working now for the rights of nature or rights of Mother Earth. And now for the last 2-3 years, that's what I've been doing. I got invited by some people from the National Assembly of politicians in Mexico who said, hey, we want to know about this story about
rights of nature. So I say, okay, let's create a group of people that can put all those ideas together, take these ideas from Bolivia and Ecuador, and we created the law of rights of the earth for Mexico City.
Okay, Alberto, we're gonna be cut off soon.
Okay.
We're nearing the end of the program. I'm gonna have you back on soon,
Okay.
if we can arrange it. Well, as soon as we can get you back. I know you're a super busy guy. No wonder you're so resourceful. But I do want people to get a chance to connect with you. What would be the best way for people to connect with Alberto?
Well, I think at this moment, we're starting to launch this Avast campaign, planetary campaign, for the rights of Mother Earth. We're working very hard with Munta and every one of the people, the activists that come from Global Alliance and from South America and Colombia, to create that. So in that moment, we're going to have a place where we can connect. At this moment, my email is, you have it, it's Coyote Alberto, and it's gmail.com, So that's the best way to do it. And, and you and me can continue talking, and we can continue planning.
Okay, well, we'll follow up definitely with future shows. It sounds like we're at the end here, Alberto, but man, you've done an amazing job. I'm so appreciative of what you've done. And we'll catch up with you on the next time you're on, okay? Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Brian. Until the next one.
Thank you.
Enter into a world unseen on Raven Star's Witching Hour. You will encounter eclectic topics from the realm of spirit brought into our matrix of truth. With your host, the Solaris Blue Ravens. Solaris will bring you an array of unique guests covering topics from ghostly spirits to amazing anomalies, covert technology, UFOs, and shadowy global events.
And that's right here, Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com, Saturdays, midnight till 2 a.m. Eastern Time. Revolution Radio, where information never sleeps.
Let the magic rise.
Hi, this is Bo.
And this is Rocco.
And the Bo and Rocco Show is here to offer insight into legal and lawful remedies. Our goal is to remain free and help others remain free in an ever-increasing police-like state. With the help of our guests, we try to answer questions such as what went wrong and what can we do about it.
So tune into Revolution Radio at www.freedomslips.com Wednesday nights, 10 to 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to listen to the Bo and Rocco Show.
You don't need to expect us.
We're already here.
Revolution Radio. Every Tuesday evening on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, we present our goddess spiritual warrior, Kathy Bilski.
I command. I call to the architect of the universe's divine creators and ask for permission to quantum leave the world in all life forms on all planes and dimensions, seen and unseen, connected with planet Earth, to let us go beyond our known potential into the greatest unknown golden age the universes and worlds and all planets have ever experienced.
Kathy teaches the spiritual truth so that you may create a better life and be able to make positive changes for yourself and for the planet. She helps us remember that we are not powerless, but very creative spiritual beings having an Earth experience. Time to quantum leap into the age of divine enlightenment and let Kathy provide you with the tools of knowledge you need to awaken spiritually. That's the Quantum Leap Show. Let Light Unite every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern on Revolution Radio, Studio B.
Did you ever feel